Hello guys, in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down why do we pay taxes if the government can print money. In my recent videos, I've covered, why we print money and what happens if we stop printing money. Basically, that whole threshold of, oh, maybe what if the dollar crashes and what if we rely on gold? But now I'm going to cover why do we pay taxes if the government can just print infinite amounts of money. I feel like it's from the outside is very self-explanatory. Let's say it like this. We know printing money causes inflation. So when you do it to a large amount, it would make inflation jump too high. So that's a basic way to put it. But for those who may not understand that, let's go a little bit deeper into why we pay taxes. So we have to understand this is a game of Monopoly, right? We're all citizens. We're walking around the board, and Park Palace and all the different places, properties that you can own have already been put there and built for you. But it's up to you to earn enough, go around the board multiple times, and put in what you earned from getting around the board. So realize this: you and I, we are consumers. We are not the issuers of the money. The issuers of this currency and the dollar is the government. And we rely on this specific dollar. We don't rely on gold. We don't rely on anything else. We rely on this money. The government or the Federal Reserve prints this money. The government.
Now connected to Mick Walsh.
Oh my goodness. And the government uses this money, gives us this money, right? The government is the issuer. We have to realize this as well. And I said this earlier in other videos. Human value determines the value of the dollar, and in order to receive a dollar, we have to give value because the dollar is a currency, it represents a value, and in order to have value, it needs a human to generate value to get a value. A human also needs to give value to obtain this dollar, right? Next, the way this dollar is created, we have to earn money to spend money, right? We can't go and get a cupcake from EDP 445 without going and making money because EDP 445 is going to charge money, right? So, also, like I said, the government is the issuer of this money. They print the money, or the Federal Reserve prints this money. So we have to realize this: we can't, change the system for ourselves. No, we're not the government. So we have to realize that it's their money, their rules, and that is that. It's their dollar, so they're gonna levy this dollar, and we're gonna have to pay these taxes. You don't pay taxes with gold, yen, or any other currency. You pay taxes with the dollar because this is what is given to you. This is what's generated, and they have levied this. This is their stuff. So, number two, second point, I guess, we have to realize that there is a demand, right? Because we are working, or I should say working, because the dollar is needed to spend and the dollar is needed to pay for certain things. The dollar is in high demand. It's always going to be in high demand, some form of currency, right? So trade uses dollars, investments use dollars, resources use dollars. This is just global demand. Everybody, if we want to go to Africa, they're going to want our dollars, right? So it's not just the US thing, it's more of an everybody thing. Everybody, when we go to China, they're going to ask for our dollars. We're going to ask for their dollars, right? And then the next thing, why is the government taxing? A big part of this is control, or I would call it social control, right? It's not full-on control, but it's social control. They want to control the behavior. That's why you have things like a sin tax or import tax or property tax. If there's an import tax, they likely want you buying things domestic. So inside the house, inside the US, they want you buying and trading inside the US before you go and buy your drawers and underwear or cardboard boxes from China. They want you to go to the US first, and this is all created. I mean, this is created to change behaviors into investing and trading within the US and the US mostly, right? So they do have control over this dollar, right? And we have to get this right too. the best people to control the money is the government because, and listen to this closely, because they need to control everything about the dollar to a T, like the point of inflation. They have to control inflation, and this is the big reason for taxing, right? And then the next point is liquidity. This is a big part, right? So, how do you track money without taxing? Think for a second. How do you tax money without tracking where the money goes and who makes this amount of money? The number one way, this also ties in control here. The number one way the government can track where the money is going is by taxing. Because you put right there on this box, I made this amount, I spent this amount on this, I bought this and that, and this and that, and this amount of money went here and there. What this does is creates an ability to track revenue or combined revenue for the government to say, hey, my country has earned overall in taxes X amount of money. The country can now go and have this line of credit, which means money available to be lent to them, which can be used to get various different things of trade and whatnot. You hear a lot, I'm going to get into this in another video, about the U.S. buying things from China, and a lot of things from the U.S., a lot of things being used in the U.S. being from China. There's a whole reason for this. I'm going to break this down in a whole nother video. It's going to open your eyes up. Because you hear the phrase that everything from China is low quality and cheap, which is better for China, but it's actually really good for us and them as well. So yeah, this revenue pays for the government to get loans and accrue more debt from others. Now, number 5, my 5th point. This is what I call PPP, Purchase Power Protection. So, my country, this is basically what I just talked about earlier. My country, with all the businesses, jobs, and civilian earnings combined, generated X amount. This keeps the dollar valuable. How does this keep the dollar valuable? Let me give you the equation right here. So, Meek's answer to the question, why do we pay taxes if the government can print money? It's an equation, guys. It's an equation. Everything is equation. Everything is math, apparently. So, here's my equation that solves the question of why do we pay taxes? So, money printed minus taxes collected. They make a number, right? Let's use my mother video from a long time ago. So, money printed, $1 billion, right? We split that 5 different times in my first video, and the banks lent it out to various different things. And we said, you know what? Out of that $5 billion, $946 get taxed. So $1 billion minus, minus $946 million, right? That creates $47 million, right? Or 57, yes, $57 million, right? That's what we're left over with. Now we divide that by human productivity. Human productivity basically represents the GDP. So, whatever the GDP is, and this 50 million is, you divide those, and what you get is the value of the dollar to a T. Boom, that's the equation. But what this is used for is just to calculate the value of the dollar. This helps the government track everything to a T about the dollar. How much interest are we accruing? How far can we go with this? Where does this need to go? Where does that need to go? That is why we pay taxes. You can go on and say a million other things as well, like building the cities, all of that different stuff, and funding projects. Yes, a little bit. And then another part that is a big part of why we pay taxes is paying off our debt that we already have. But yeah, that's my video. I hope you learned why we pay taxes, and hopefully I answer your question. So yeah, goodbye.